Morning all and welcome back once again to I Like Watches 2. I feel like I'm sitting very low like a kid at an adult's table. My chair won't come up anymore. I tried to get it up this morning and it wouldn't come up. I've given up. The chair. I'm talking about the chair still. Everything else works. Yeah, so I'm just going to have to sit down here for this video and then maybe swap my chair out. I might be off to IKEA later. This wasn't the video I was planning for today. I'm responding to my review or the comments in the review of my... Now, hang on. In the comments section of the review of the Zeroo T7 The Archer, which I posted on I Like Watches yesterday. It's been a lot of comments, a lot of great comments, actually. A lot of really positive comments, which is nice to see always. But a lot of negative comments, which is also nice to see. One of the reasons that's good to see, actually, is because of all the feedback that they've had on the branding on the crystal. Yeah, very quickly they got in touch and said, okay, we see the we see the opinions on the crystal. We've decided to make a sterile version. I mean, we love that, don't we? That's one of the reasons why micro brands or smaller brands are really popular, because they see videos like this and then they respond to the feedback. You wouldn't get that sort of response from Citizen, Seiko, Swiss brands. They don't give two damns about what we say or what we think, and I say we as in the community. And so yeah, brilliant that they are responding to the negative feedback in a positive way, but there's also been a lot of negative feedback in terms of the watch being Chinese and all that sort of stuff. In a way, it's a sort of compliment, and I think it's because the watch appears to be almost too good to be true, finished to this sort of level with a movement like that, assembled in Japan. How can they possibly do this without it being a Chinese movement or without the watch being made in China? Yeah, just over $2,000 for this watch. Yes, it's a lot of money, but when you look at what you're getting compared to a lot of other watches with similar specifications, I mean, I do really think if it had Swiss made on the dial, it would be significantly more expensive. It would be in a different ballpark in terms of price. So in a way, it's a compliment, but understandably, I don't think they were overly thrilled about a lot of the comments saying it's a Chinese watch and all that sort of stuff. So I probed them. I've been messaging them quite a lot, and I, ask a question, and then they come back, give me the answer. I go back and ask more questions. I don't think I'm going to get another Zeroo on the channel. I'll be surprised anyway. I'm sure I've irritated them because I just kept going back and asking more. Well, who does this? Where does this get done? And I wouldn't say I was accusing them or being accusatory, but yeah, I mean, I just think, they kept responding and giving me as much information as they could, but of course I wanted more. But it has now put me in a position where I feel I can explain this watch much better. I don't think I said anything in the full review that was wrong, but I can certainly explain the movement and all that sort of stuff better now that I've had this exchange with them. So they are adamant that this is a Japanese design. Yes, there are a lot of familiarities in terms of the case shape and all that sort of stuff. There are some elements on the case that look familiar. That's completely understandable and normal these days. I don't think that makes it a clone or a homage or a clomage, and there are a lot of people saying it's basically a copy. I don't know of a watch that looks identical to this. I think it's original enough for it not to be a clomage. But yes, of course, there are familiar elements to it. It's almost impossible these days to make something 100% original. So they've designed it. They have assembled the watch in Japan. The movement was put in the case in Japan, and yeah, it was finished in Japan. The watch was prepared and the accuracy and everything was adjusted in Japan. The movement is also their own movement. They are saying, this is our movement. We designed this movement. We were the first to use it. They have some components for this watch made in China. They are then shipped over to Japan, refinished, and then used during the assembly process. So they're refinished in Japan and then adjusted, assembled in Japan. So the movement is designed by Zeroo The watch is designed by Zeroo. The movement is assembled in Japan by Zeroo. The movement is then put into the case by Zeroo in Japan. The watch is assembled in Japan. Some components are made in China. That is perfectly acceptable as far as I'm concerned. They're not doing anything out of the ordinary. And for them to say this is a Japanese watch made in Japan, I don't know what the law is for a Japanese company to claim that, because every country has different laws. Made in America, for example, is a lot more strict than made in Switzerland. Swiss made, it's a bit loosey-goosey, but made in America, very strict. Give Americans and America a lot of credit for that. If you want to claim something's made in America, it's got to be completely made in America. Made in Japan, I don't know what the law is, but I'm happy that enough of this watch is designed, made, assembled in Japan for those claims not to be false. Now, they are aware that there is or there are clones of their movements being used by other brands. I've looked online and there are striking similarities between these movements, and I went back to them and they said, look, we can't stop companies from copying our movements. All we know is we designed this movement. It's our movement. We have had some parts made in China. They come here, we refinish them, and then we use them during the assembly process. So for me, I can't do any more. I don't think. Falling short of saying to them, you're lying and I have to come to Japan to see the whole process for myself, which is just completely unrealistic and it's never going to happen. I'm happy that they have proven to me, or that they have convinced me, that what they have said in their Indiegogo campaign and what they've said to me in their emails is absolutely correct. And it, if anything, just reinforces the fact that this watch is actually incredible value for money. There are people in the comments section saying these watches in Japan are considered very high-end watches, and you'll see them in fancy watch boutiques, and they have an incredible reputation in Japan, which is great for the rest of us, because all too often we complain that the Japanese domestic market gets all the good stuff, and here they are sharing it with us, and then we're accusing them of making Chinese watches or using Chinese watches and passing them off as their own. So yeah, I'm thrilled that they have responded in the right way for both elements, really, removing the branding on the crystal, but also confirming that, yes, some components get made in China, but this is not a Chinese movement. It's our movement. We designed it. It is ours. So, yeah, make of that what you will. I won't be able to convince everybody, of course, and that's absolutely fine. But I've done what I can to satisfy myself and hopefully add a little bit more weight behind, their claims. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments section. I think. Cheers for watching.